So to discuss the UK election and its fallout, we're now joined by Slavoj Žižek, International Director at the Birkbeck Institute for the Humanities. Mr. Žižek, thanks for joining us here on RT International today. Theresa May was very confident going into the election. What do you think went wrong for her and the Tories?
I think the only expression that I can use is that it was a true ethico-political miracle. The strategy of Theresa May and of Conservative Party was politics of fear at its worst. Fear of terrorists, of immigrants, fear of European Union, and so on. It was the old scaremongering with open elements of obscenity. You remember when she mentioned that on behalf of fighting terrorism, she's even ready to reap some human rights and so on and so on. This was politics as usual today in much of the West.
You say it's politics as usual today when it comes to the West. You mentioned using fear at its worst. Fear-mongering typically works, Mr. Žižek. Why didn't it work this time?
That was the ethical miracle. I couldn't believe it. I was skeptical. My reaction was, isn't Jeremy Corbyn too good for our world? Can you simply do what he did in a wonderfully naive way? Corbyn, he ignored all that. He didn't answer at the same level. He simply directly, in a simple, straight terms, addressed ordinary people with their ordinary concern, healthcare, workplaces, education, and so on. He addressed those issues. Now, let me be very open. I'm not even sure if he were to take power, if he were to succeed, Corbyn, that this would have worked. Maybe there would be trouble and so on. Today's capitalism is a complex thing. It can counter your progressive politics by giving rise to an artificial crisis and so on. But no, it worked. It's a wonderful ethical sign that people cannot be just throughout manipulated. From time to time, people awaken from this bad dream. It's a great hope to all of us.
So, I mean, so Corbyn was talking to the common man, though, Mr. Žižek. Corbyn was talking to the common man, and Theresa May was essentially protecting and catering to the elite, the political establishment, yes?
Yeah, but she was more canny, of course. She didn't say this openly, of course. You don't do in politics today like that. She didn't say, I am protecting the elite and so on. She pretended to take care of the common man. But how? To manipulating their worst fears and so on. And Corbyn didn't accept this game. You know how usually we associate the term moral majority with conservatives? For me, now, the British elections are a proof of the opposite. It's the conservative elites in power who are really decadent and so on. It's today's modern left which truly stands for simple moral majority.
Slavoj, okay, let's take this just a few steps further because I think, as you're alluding to, there has been a lot of talk, certainly in various spheres, about the rise of populism, both in America and in Europe. What role did that play in the UK election?
That was the miracle, again, of Corbyn. If by populism we mean this cheap scaremongering, raising people against some enemy and so on, there was not even a trace of this in how Corbyn proceeded. No, Corbyn simply addressed real people with their concern without any of this emotional, cheap, populist concern.
And yet some people are showing surprise that Corbyn was somehow able to stand up after taking such a beating in recent months, a huge negative media campaign. A lot of people saying there's respect now.
That's the best news. I claim, paradoxically, that he succeeded, not in spite of the mean character assassination campaign, but even also because of this campaign. Because people, I think, in the middle of all these dirty tricks, everything against him, that Corbyn is a jihadist, terrorist supporter, people, it counteracted. People all of a sudden become aware, wait a minute, what's going on? What are they doing to this man? It's really an
Slavoj, do you think to some degree that the media establishment in the UK failed in its job, its agenda, its purpose to perhaps push Corbyn left and bring Theresa, put her on more solid ground, do you think?
Yeah, but again, that's the wonder, how the most sophisticated strategy, probably they had hundreds of PR specialists how to do it, that simple common people's decency and wisdom were awakened. It didn't work. It's a wonderful proof that no, it's not true that we simply live in a totally manipulated society where everything can be sold with the right packaging and so on and so on. It gives us hope. It's not even a specifically leftist hope. It's a hope that the type of politics, of fear, of manipulation, of cynical distance is not all that we can do today to be successful.
So this long-time game of fear-mongering, keeping the public in a sense of being scared. You're telling me that kind of game by the establishment and media doesn't really work anymore, and this election is the result?
No, I wouldn't be so optimistic that it doesn't work, that it simply no longer works. But it has its limits. That's the good news.
All right, Slavoj Žižek, International Director at the Birkbeck Institute for the Humanities. Thank you very much for joining us today on RT International.
I was glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.